for Korean American Story and Not Your Average. Today I'm sitting down with Rob Lim, former professional, do you like former or no? Just professional skateboarder.
Just a skateboarder. Just a skateboarder.
Skateboarder and currently the head designer at Saturdays New York City. Thanks for joining us today, Kanbei.
Yeah.
We won't tell anyone what time it is right now. Let's start from the beginning. You were born in Houston.
Houston, Texas, right? H-Town.
And you were there until you were, what, 13?
13 years old, yeah.
Did your parents get married in Korea and then they came over here?
They did. They did. I believe I might have been already in the bun. Controversial.
When they came over?
No, like when they were at the wedding.
Oh, yeah.
So I always used to tell people I was made in Korea but produced in the U.S.
Yeah. Love it. So when you moved to California though, were you, what were your friends like there?
You know, it was a culture shock and it had a hard time. I think that's where really my identity crisis, if I can call it that, kind of started. Because moving to California, like in Texas, I knew all my neighbors, and you know, my schools were like walking distances, and I walk home, and sometimes if I forgot my key, my parents were still at work. It was like, you just go over to your neighbor's house, you knock on the door, and you eat dinner with them. You know, they make dinner for you. You know, you just hang out. It's all good. But if it definitely felt like when I got to California, there was this invisible like bubble or wall in between everybody. And so I just started skating, and I remember the first board, like my parents had no idea what skateboarding was, but my father was always supportive of whatever I got into.
Oh, really?
So he went to the swap meet and bought me like those $10 boards. You know, but it wasn't the same. Like I could tell, right? Like as soon as he brought it, I was like, but it's not like my friends. Like the wheels don't roll the same way, all that. And the board broke like after like a week. So what I did was I had borrowed my friend's board. I was like, yo, let me just borrow your board just for like a week, man, you know? And I accidentally broke his board. So what I did was, because my father had a huge office, like in a huge garage because of the press and all that, I took one of the wooden shelves, and I just like traced his board, and then I just like hand sawed it out and like put the trunks back on. But he wasn't too hyped on that. But you know, but then I moved to California, and I used to have this like, some words had a pretty thick Texan twang, and going to California, everybody was like so confused, like, is that an Asian accent
or did people ever say like, did they think you were Latino or like, because you could sort of maybe.
Well, I mean, growing up, I thought, until I was about 6 or 7, I thought maybe I was black, and then once you know you grow up and you start going to school, then I thought, oh, like, because there's a huge Mexican population in Houston, Texas. So I thought, oh, I'm Mexican. They love spicy foods, and you know. So I definitely had a couple of back and forths on that. By the time I was about 10, and then like 11, I went to Korea for the first time, and that's when things really kind of opened up in my head. I was like, okay, like I get
Korean.
it. Yeah, I get it.
So when you, like, was there any crazy automatic, like the first time you got on a skateboard, you were like, I love this has changed my life? Or was it just, you just liked it as a kid and then the love grew?
You know, like the Little Rascals, you know?
Yeah.
They have that soapbox derby race, and they just like make their own little go-karts or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I always wanted to drive a car as a little kid, you know. I just always, and my favorite animal growing up was a horse, because, you know, like Indians and cowboys could be riding them. You know, I just loved the thought of getting around outside of, because I had a really bad bicycle accident when I was in 3rd grade, and my mom like banned me from getting on any vehicle types, you know. So,
but she didn't include skateboards because she didn't really know.
She didn't really understand, right? So I get away with that. So I think that's where the interest first sparked. But then when I moved to California, I went to Santa Monica Beach for the first time, and I saw people riding on skateboards at Santa Monica Beach, and it was a completely different, I don't know, that just, the whole thing just kind of just struck me differently. And I think
because you've never seen.
I didn't know there was like a
community,
culture
like,
around it, you know?
Yeah.
And
were you like immediately like, I need to be a part of that, or?
yeah, because they seemed like kind of like separate from like the rest of the kids, and and that was the thing too when I first started school in Newport too. The kids that really like embraced me were the kids who skated, because they were the ones that were kind of like a little more outside of the bunch.
Yeah.
And then I think when they kind of saw how weird I was, you know, and talked a little weird.
So when your parents split up, didn't you go to live with your grandmother then?
I did, yeah. My father was now trying to like create new business with Korea, and he was traveling back and forth from Korea a lot. And I think my mother got, you know, really worried. I just remember her feeling like she needed to go out there. So all I remember was
to Korea.
Yeah, to like meet up with my father, see what the status was. And my grandmother came down, and then she was watching over me and my sister while my mom took off. And then my father just came back by himself, and I was like, oh, where's mom? You know? And then that's where it just happened so fast. All of a sudden we were moving up to Glendale, you know, with my grandmother, and it sounded like it was supposed to be a temporary thing, and my father was gonna go back to bring back mom, this and that, and then that was it. Didn't hear from them for like 3-4 years after that. That was the last time.
You were living with your grandmother, but then you actually kind of raised your sister, right? Like you moved her out, the two of you, and you guys lived on your own, right?
I got guardianship over my sister, and I just went back south because that's where the majority of my support system was there. And my closest friend throughout this whole time was there, and his family was kind of my surrogate family. I moved back south, and I was going in between like Santa Ana, Irvine again, trying to live in Irvine, but Irvine was tough, you know, so. And also my mom popped back into the light of lives. It was kind of, you know, she just kind of came back, and I was very protective at the time, and I was not sure what to do with that. But I think my sister really, you know, she said one thing that really got me, and she was like, but she's my mom. Like I wanna know what it's like to have my mom. And so
I really feel that as an adoptee. I totally feel that. That's intense.
And I mean, I did my best. I think in many ways I was very strict in many ways, just because I thought you were supposed to, rather than with like real reason or real, you know, conviction, you know. And I knew like, but I was also like so contradictory to that, because then I go and leave her with like friends and family or somebody, and then I'd be off on my trip skating or you know. So
you just taught yourself. Like it's not like you, and well nowadays in New York especially, people can take lessons for anything.
Sure,
you just taught yourself, right?
Yeah.
And you just keep skating, and you just try different things, and you fall and you get back up. And did you ever fall so bad that you were like, nah, I'm not doing this anymore?
I'm not the toughest dude in the world, but I do feel like everybody's real soft these days.
No, it's so true.
You know, because I don't think that's not a possibility of thinking, I don't think, back then. And if you really think about it too, most skateboarders, especially in the 90s, they all have something common, or at least most of them in my head, was, you know, they come from either broken families, or they don't fit in with the mainstream, and like the attitude always was, you know, do it yourself, and basically fuck mainstream America, you know, and like youth against establishment, all, you know, that kind of stuff. That was something that resonated for me a lot, because being Korean, but not truly understanding yet what that meant, and then moving around from a complete opposite of the spectrum of America, from Texas to Southern California, and then my parents splitting up and all that, it just
How old were you when they split up?
15. So it was only a few years later, and I just felt, I don't know, I felt that, I think what I really was attracted to skateboarding after a while was I could kind of like create my own family.
Dealers and killers, we the foundation, we the pillars, we the sound masons, we the realest.